Hi, I'm Zach Hodges, and in this final video about getting the look of film on your photos, I'm going to give you 5 tips to take your film edits even further on VSCO. Now, I've already made 2 videos about getting the color of film and the grain of film, so I'm assuming here that you've already watched those, but I'll link them in the description if you haven't seen those yet. But getting straight into it, let's open up the VSCO app and get into tip number 1, which is using the blur tool. Digital images can be very sharp, and it's not that film lacks sharpness or resolution, but it's just not sharp in the same way. And so sometimes a really sharp image underneath a film preset and some grain can be kind of a giveaway if you're trying to simulate film. So what I'll often do is open up the blur tool and add a very subtle blur to take the edge off. Let's start by choosing the linear blur. And then if we just take it off, like just slide it basically off the screen so that it's applying to the whole image. And then we'll turn it down really low, like to 0.01 or 0.02. Now we can't zoom in the blur tool itself here, but if we just confirm this and get back into the tool tray, we can then zoom in and you can see the difference. It's subtle, but it's a nice little trick that I think can really kind of help take the digital edge off of images. So certainly give the blur tool a try. All right, moving on to tip number 2, that is to use the Vignette tool. And vignetting is a lens effect, so it's not strictly a film effect, but it's basically making the edges get darker. And it's something that a lot of film shots would have because film cameras use lenses. Obviously, phones and digital cameras use lenses as well, so they would have vignetting, but it's often digitally removed, and they do it without asking you. So often adding a little bit back in can really help, especially for like a portrait or a low light shot when you're trying to simulate film. Here's an image that I took on my iPhone, and the vignetting would have been removed on this one. So I'm going to open up the Vignette tool and just add a little bit in here, and you can see it's darkening the edges. And I really like this. It's subtle again, but it adds a lot. So definitely experiment with that, especially for a low light or a portrait image. This is something that I really like to do, and give that a try. All right, so tip number 3 is is to use HSL. HSL stands for hue, saturation, and lightness. And it's a really great way to adjust the colors in your image when they're not quite where you'd like them. And that can extend to film. Something that I've noticed is that film shots can often turn reds a little bit more towards orange, especially on the Fuji Frontier scanner, which a lot of these presets do use that. And so a common use case for the HSL tool here is just to bring the reds back towards red. I've got an image here with quite a bit of red in it, and I have the KU1 preset applied. And if I tap and hold, you can see the original red color is shifted quite a bit towards orange. And if I wanted to fix that, I could open up the HSL tool here and shift the red hue over towards magenta. You can kind of see that's moving the reds back in that direction. And we can see the original color starting to return. So definitely give the HSL tool a look in your film editing. All right, tip number 4 is to stack effects. So we've already talked about using effects in your image, but you can take this one step further by using multiple textures. So I'll go ahead and add some texture to this image. I'll just use the texture section, and let's do something really obvious just for demonstration. I'm going to apply this texture. And now the easiest way to add another one of these is to go back into the studio and to tap on these 3 little dots in the More section, and to use this flatten a duplicate function. This is going to render a new copy of the image with all the edits applied. So let's go ahead and do that. And now we have a new draft, and we are free to add another layer on top. So I'm going to open this and now go to the light section. I'm going to try adding a light leak to this image, and that looks really good. And now I have 2 effects. So this can also be really powerful. And I mean, obviously you can do that as many times as you want. Go nuts. All right, tip number 5, at long last, is to use the dodge and burn tool like a darkroom print master. So especially in traditional black and white photography, dodging and burning can often be a pretty big part of that process. The way it works is that in, like in a print lab, in a film lab, the light would be shown through the film negative onto a table where an unexposed print would be. And that print is negative as well, but since two negatives equal a positive, when you develop the print, you get a normal image in the end. So this is where, like maybe in a show or a movie, you might see them putting a print into like a bucket of some chemicals or something, and the image is appearing. That's what I'm talking about. That's the print, the two negatives. And film developers would manipulate the light coming onto the print so that different sections were more or less exposed in order to manipulate the tonality and the brightness of the print. And this is where the terms dodge and burn come from. Alan Schaller actually made a great video about this here on YouTube, learning how to do this in a real darkroom. So definitely suggest taking a look at that if you're interested. But just here in the tool, let me go ahead and open up a black and white image. Let's go find the Dodge and Burn tool. You can use this tool to simulate the darkroom process of Dodge and Burn. So Dodge is going to, brighten things in your image, while Burn is going to darken the image. And so you just brush with your finger here and put it where you want. You can do multiple passes to increase the amount until you get it about where you want it to be. Now, in general, your viewer's eye is going to be drawn to the things that are brighter. And so use the Dodge tool to bring attention where you want it to be, and then use the Burn tool to diminish attention in the areas that you want to have more of a supporting role in your composition. So for me in this image, I love how the people are framed in this scooter, but it's a little too bright, and it's making me look at the scooter and not the people that are framed in the scooter. And so I'm going to burn this thing down just to bring more attention to where I want it. And I'm going to do several passes here to bring the brightness of the scooter down. There we go. That's starting to look a little better. I'm going to go ahead and do the street and this building as well. You can get a lot more precise. Obviously, I'm going quick, but you get the idea. This can really be a powerful tool to control the attention of your viewer in especially a black and white image. So definitely give the Dodge and Burn tool a try. And with that, we have at last covered everything that you need to create a film look with the VSCO app. Now, all that remains is for you to get started. Try using a Film X preset, try using the grain tool, and maybe try some of these tips that we've talked about and see what you can come up with. If you do create something that you like, we would really love to see it. I would love to see it. And if you share it on VSCO and you use the VSCO hashtag, that'll definitely increase the chances that our curators will be able to see that. So we'd really encourage you to do that. And gosh, if you made it this far, thank you. I hope I've been able to help you get a little closer to the look of film in your editing and maybe learn a little something along the way. Do consider subscribing. I'll be making more content like this, and don't be shy in the comments. I mean, I'm sure there are tips and tricks that you all have that I've never even thought of. Actually, that's where some of these came from. It's just me watching somebody and realizing, wow, you can do that with the blur tool. I never thought of that. So I'd love to hear what else you all are doing for us all to help each other. That's all for today. That's all for this little series. Thank you again, and I will see you soon.